The SA Human Rights Commission is urging people who've been threatened with job or accommodation losses for refusing to have a COVID-19 vaccine to come forward to them. For more on this, I'm joined by Mr. Buang Jones, who's the Gauteng Commission head. Mr. Jones, good to have you on the Daytime Update once again. So you've made this call for people who are being pressurized to take the vaccine and are being threatened with dismissal, whether it's at their workspaces or at their accommodation, to come forward to you. What is it that elicited this call from the South African Human Rights Council?
Well, I had a meeting with the legal team. We were discussing a number of emerging human rights issues in the province. And one of the key issues that emerged from the discussion was reports of people being forced to take the vaccine at their respective workplaces. And it was the view of the team that we should ascertain the correctness of this by making a call for those who may be affected by decisions taken by their employers to come forward with this, so that the Commission can then assess and be in a position to determine how we can best intervene. And that's the rationale behind the call that we made. And we've been receiving a lot of queries. We've been receiving a lot of complaints, some from domestic workers, security officers, and other people are saying their employers are now even amending their contracts of employment to include taking a compulsory vaccination. And they are worried because of job security. Others are in precarious employment. And we know that the pandemic has halted economic activity. It has seriously deepened poverty, economic inequalities, and unemployment. And you can imagine the desperate situation people are in, and the fear of losing their jobs. And the Commission has said that we support the state's efforts to vaccinate as many people as possible to ensure the required herd immunity. We have welcomed the efforts taken by government to ensure that we get the vaccines and people are vaccinated. But we said that it is important that the taking of the vaccine should be entirely voluntary. And we said this having regards to the Constitution, the applicable legal framework, and we have communicated this consistently. We released a statement earlier this year, which further shed light on our view regarding vaccination, and the Commission has been at the forefront. We are actually, at the moment, across the country, monitoring the rollout of the vaccine program, which we support as the South African Human Rights Commission.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Jones. I spoke not too long ago to a labor law expert, and we're talking about this very same conversation and the dynamics that exist within the workplace. And he highlighted a number of clauses or policy positions that employers can take that can pretty much allow them to release employees from their employ. For example, he spoke about the employees not meeting operational requirements and for breaching the company policy. If legal routes such as this can be taken, what recourse does the average South African have who does not want to be vaccinated, but who also does not want to lose their livelihood?
Well, the Department of Employment and Labor has recently issued directives to employers. In the directives, they request employers to undertake a risk assessment, and that risk assessment must then assist the employer to make a determination as to whether there is a need for mandatory vaccination. And if they come to that determination, the employer must then notify the employees of the need to be vaccinated once the vaccine becomes available for that employee. The employer must also notify the employees of their right to refuse to be vaccinated on constitutional or medical grounds. And if employees refuse on these grounds, the employer should counsel them on these issues and, if necessary, attempt to accommodate the employees through measures other than vaccination. It would be regrettable that people then become constructively dismissed when the employer should be looking at having meaningful engagement, consultative sessions to win the hearts and minds of the employees, to persuade them, to show them the need and the necessity for taking this vaccine. Of course, employees have the right to seek recourse. They can approach the courts, they can approach other forums and the South African Human Rights Commission. And the Commission, as we speak, has not yet made a determination, as we are still assessing complaints that are trickling in from affected people. We still need to finalize the assessment process and determine how we can best intervene. But we are required, in terms of the Constitution, to secure appropriate redress where there are human rights violations.
I'd like to move to the issue of accommodation now. There's a matter that's been quite topical in the last few days of happening in the midstream residential facility. Give us a little bit of background regarding that situation, as well as why you, as the South African Human Rights Commission, got involved.
Well, the Commission got involved, largely because when there are human rights issues in the province, I get tagged on social media, I get phone calls, and this was brought to my attention over the weekend. And we immediately initiated contact with the company. We had a meeting with the company yesterday. We also spoke to the complainant, who chose to remain anonymous.
So what was the situation there? Yes, it's a residential facility. There are a group of employees, in my understanding, who live in a shared facility, and those employees were then being forced to vaccinate. And then you then got tagged because some of them were refusing. What was your intervention in this regard?
Well, it's an affluent and an upmarket estate. It's a high security estate. So there are a number of security officers from as far as Tembisa and other areas who don't want to commute every day. So instead they chose to stay within these barracks that were built for them by the property management company. So there was a circular issued in June, not in June, earlier this month. There was a circular issued, and this was after the director of Bondev had raised concerns about the third wave, which saw a rise in the number of cases in Gauteng. And our talks with him centered around this circular, which required the security officers who stay at the communal living quarters of the estate to leave should they not want to take the vaccine. And he has expressed regret on behalf of the company. He admitted it was a mistake, and they have not implemented this decision to force people to vaccinate. They have withdrawn this circular. As we speak, none of the security officers was compelled to take the vaccine, and the Commission welcomes this.
Thank you.
And we hope that other employers will also learn from this and to ensure that whatever they do is consistent with the Constitution and our human rights principles.
Certainly a developing story and issue this, Mr. Buang Jones. Thank you very much for your time. I remember as well when the leader of the EFF was doing his 8th-year birthday address, speaking about the issue of forced vaccination. So it's certainly something very topical. That's Mr. Buang Jones there. He is the Gauteng head for the South African Human Rights Commission.